let's talk about change. And I know we talk about change quite a bit on this podcast because as a father, you're trying to evolve. You're trying to go from who you were yesterday to this version you want to be in the future. And I saw this essentially meme story, whatever you want to call it, but it's a little bit longer than a quote, so I won't call it a quote. But I saw it and I was like, this is what every dad needs to hear because this is kind of the journey that we often get stuck on when we go into this personal development world and we try to be better and evolve and do all these things that we talk about in the podcast, but it can be a trap. And I know this trap very well because I fell into that trap for probably the first 3 years of my journey and my growth through life. So here it goes. An unnamed monk writing around 1100 AD recorded these words. When I was a young man, I wanted to change the world. I found it was difficult to change the world, so then I tried to change my nation. When I found I couldn't change the nation, I began to focus on my town. I couldn't change the town, and so as an older man, I tried to change my family. Now, as an old man, I realized the only thing I can change is myself. And suddenly, I realized that if long ago I had changed myself, I could have had made an impact on my family, and I could have made an impact on our town, and their impact could have changed the nation, and I could indeed have changed the world. Now that just resonates so deeply with my story because it's something that I also had to learn, that if you really want to change the world, you have to change how you see the world and how you feel the world is from the inner world to the outer world. Oftentimes we talk about the lenses and how our eyes can perceive what the world is around us just through our own story and how our life is unfolded. And if you truly do have the idea to try to change the world, you really need to change the inner world, which then will reflect and change the outer world. Billy Graham is also said by saying, I've spoken to stadiums of 60,000 people, and I could have had a bigger impact in this world had I spent that exact same amount of time invested in my kids. I have the same idea when I think of our neighborhood. I'm often inviting other neighborhood kids to go on bike rides and do different things and go to parks because not every kid has the same opportunity to have a dad at home. So I'm always trying to create these opportunities where we can invite whatever happens to happen, but it happens in the most smallest circles you can think of. Men often think that we need to do all the big things that we need to do in our life, whether it be climb the corporate ladder, get a big salary, be the CEO of a big company, have that fancy title. But that's not how you change the world. You're still just a number in that corporate ladder. And just with a swoop of a pen, you could be out of that. I know that was my story. And what I realized through that story is that if I really wanted to change the world, I had to change my inner world, change my family, and my family could have the courage to go out there and change the world as well. I often talk about this idea when I was talking about the episode of a single idea, that if a dad coming home to himself can really have the power to really create this idea of our kids having this same power to go off in the world and understand it. When I'm on my Military Dad podcast, I often talk about the reason why I love military dads is because we've had a rich life of experiences. And if we can gift that richness to our kids, that richness will allow them to see how they fit into the world with their unique skills, with their unique ideas and perspectives, and help understand how they can change it. But again, they have to understand their inner world to be able to affect the outer world. And I hope this helps because this is something most men get wrong. We think of the outer world and we pursue that. And I've seen like at least 10 dads on social media this past week talk about this emotional stoicness that they feel. And stoicness, not in the context of I can handle anything, but in this almost like empty vessel that they have forgotten how to feel. They've forgotten how to be playful. They have forgotten how to just be a kid with childlike wonder. This is the journey that this podcast hopefully is paving the road for you to become a dad that feels connected on the inside so deeply that it flows on the outside from his marriage to his family, and everything he touches becomes something that he can affect. But again, it doesn't start with you going off into the world and trying to change it until you can change the inner world. And I'll be back again with you guys tomorrow.